Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, today we are diving headfirst into an absolutely massive Group D clash happening right in Vancouver. On one side, you've got a football-crazed nation making this incredible, historic return to the big stage, and on the other, a seriously battle-tested squad that is totally ready to play the ultimate spoiler.
Let's look at this number right here, 24. Honestly, I really want that to sink in for a second. It has been 24 long years since Turkey last stepped onto soccer's absolute grandest stage. Think about it, that is an entire generation of fans who've basically grown up waiting to see their national team back at a World Cup. The anticipation back home, it's electric, literally off the charts. This isn't just another tournament for them, it's a massive emotional return to the top tier of international football.
But then we look at Australia, and well, they're fighting a historical ghost of their own, 10. The Socceroos actually hold the unfortunate record for the most losses of any nation at the previous 5 World Cups, taking 10 defeats in that span. That's a pretty heavy piece of historical baggage to carry around, right? They're coming into this tournament absolutely desperate to rewrite that narrative and prove to everyone they truly belong among the world's elite.
Let's move into Section 1, Turkey's grand return, from the playoffs to Group D favorites.
So getting here wasn't exactly a walk in the park for Turkey. They finished second to a really strong Spain side in qualifying, which meant they had to endure the absolute agonizing pressure of the playoffs just to finally book their ticket to North America. But, despite taking the scenic route, Vincenzo Montella's squad is arriving with so much confidence. Because of their immense attacking talent, people actually view them as having as good a chance as anyone to win what's shaping up to be a very tight Group D. And why are they favored? Well, their recent form is just red hot, period. After a pretty devastating 6-0 loss to Spain last September, they bounced back brilliantly. They won 7 of their next 8 games. The only slight blip during that incredible run was a highly respectable 2-2 draw against Spain in their reverse fixture. Plus, they handled their warm-up business perfectly, knocking off North Macedonia and Venezuela. Oh, and let's definitely not forget the momentum they're carrying from being those surprise quarterfinalists at Euro 2024. This roster absolutely knows how to deliver the goods when the lights are brightest.
Moving on to Section 2. The Socceroos' stubborn stance, embracing the underdog role.
So, to really understand Australia, you have to look at their modern pedigree. They've been World Cup regulars in the 21st century, but there's kind of a shadow looming over this team, and that's the standard set by that brilliant 2006 golden generation back in Germany. Recent squads have definitely struggled to live up to that standard, even though they fought so incredibly hard to reach the last 16 in Qatar. Now, coming off a remarkably serene qualifying process, this group really feels they've got the grit and the robustness to upset a few teams this summer.
If you look at Australia's warm-up matches, they paint a very clear picture of their style. Even with mixed results, defensive robustness is the absolute headline here. Mexico just barely edged past them 1-0, which proves the Socceroos are extremely difficult to break down. Then they grab a 1-1 draw against a really strong Switzerland team, and they did it by fighting back impressively after trailing early. It's that classic bend but don't break mentality.
But here's the massive mental hurdle they've got to overcome. 5. Australia has a truly wretched record when it comes to World Cup opening matches. They've lost 5 of their last 6. It's literally a mental hurdle as much as a physical one at this point. They absolutely have to find a way to start this tournament on the front foot, or they risk falling into that early hole they so often dig for themselves on opening weekend. And the primary reason for those opening weekend struggles? Well, this quote nails it. This roster isn't cut out for creating chances at will. Because they lean so heavily on that defensive structure, Australia just doesn't generate a massive volume of attacking opportunities. To progress into the knockouts, they're going to have to be mightily efficient in attack. Basically, when they get a half chance, they have to bury it, because frankly, they won't get many.
All right, Section 3, a clash of styles, the tale of the tape.
This contrast starts right at the very top. You've got Vincenzo Montella managing Turkey's amazing pool of attacking talent, and he really encourages a dynamic, forward-thinking game. Meanwhile, Tony Popovic, who by the way is making history as the first Australian to both play and coach at a World Cup, brings this philosophy of super-structured discipline. It's just a fascinating tactical duel between Montella's flair and Popovic's structure. And you know what? That managerial matchup bleeds perfectly onto the pitch. We're looking at a direct head-to-head battle between Turkey's wealth of attacking game breakers and Australia's super-organized stubbornness. Australia's stated strategy is totally to embrace the underdog role. They want to sit back and frustrate you. Turkey, on the other hand, is blessed with all this immense talent in the final third, and they'll be looking to unlock, dismantle, and just overwhelm that defense.
Which leads us to Section 4, predicting the pitch, how the match unfolds.
So how does this actually play out? The expected match dynamic is kind of like a three-step dance. Step 1, Australia is going to sit deep in a highly robust defensive block, making themselves incredibly difficult to play through. Step 2, that rigid structure will force Turkey to play with extreme patience. They'll be passing side to side, probing for an opening, and making sure they don't get caught on a counterattack. And finally, Step 3, Turkey will eventually have to rely on their individual game breakers, all that top-tier talent Montella has, to basically defy the Socceroos' stubbornness and force a breakthrough.
Taking all of that into account, the source prediction for this highly anticipated matchup is a tight, tense 1-0 victory for Turkey. It reflects the reality that Australia is going to make it incredibly difficult for them, for sure. But ultimately, Turkey's attacking quality should be just enough to find that single, decisive moment to claim all 3 points on their historic return to the World Cup. But hey, football isn't played on paper, right? So I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder before kickoff. Will Australia's defensive stubbornness finally rewrite their history of opening match heartbreak, or will Turkey's game breakers steal the show and announce their grand return to the world stage in style? We'll find out under the lights in Vancouver. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Enjoy the match, and I'll catch you next time.